It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the movies of September 16th, 1994. Got a packed show this week, 6 movies to look at, so let's not waste any time. Let's just jump on into it, and we'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, and that is Jean-Claude Van Damme and the sci-fi action-adventure film Time Cop. Yeah, remember in 2004 when everybody was able to time travel? Good times, good times. I mean, all the places everybody could go to. They didn't even bother to wait at least maybe 20, 30 years, maybe 50 years in the future. No, they said in 10 years' time, everybody's going to be able to do time travel. But obviously that wasn't the case. And it's a shame, too. You would think at some point somebody would have come close to maybe perfecting time travel. But sadly, that's not the case, even in 2023. But this movie's pretty damn fun. I don't want to say it's good because, man, it is a flawed movie as all hell in terms of the story and how the time travel works and how some of the elements of time travel works. I mean, it's very ridiculous. It's very stupid, but I'll be damned, man. This movie is such a fun ride. This is one of Jean-Claude Van Damme's best action movies, in my opinion. I mean, he perfectly fits this role very well, and just the way these action sequences turn out are so. They're both kind of cool, but at the same time really stupid and hilarious that you can't help but laugh about it. I mean, this movie's kind of close to being one of those guilty pleasure movies. It's one of those movies that is on the cusp of being so bad it's good. But, I mean, it's a fun concept. It's a good concept, and it works for something like this. And, it's very stupid, but it's also very balanced at the same time. It doesn't. I think they're fully aware that nothing about this movie makes any sense whatsoever. The whole concept of time travel is just so ridiculous in this movie. It's so ridiculous, but it leads to maybe some of the best moments in the movie, like the climax of the film, where Jean-Claude Van Damme goes after the bad guy, played by Ron Silver, and basically he uses flawed time physics to save the day. So I get what they're trying to do here. The idea of same matter can't occupy same space, but what kind of matter comes together to make this mess creature that just disappears out of existence for no real reason? That's the stuff that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But it's at the same time, that's a pretty damn good. That's a pretty damn good climax too. And I mean, Jean-Claude Van Damme's line at the end, "I'm still kicking. I must be on Broadway." Just only Jean-Claude Van Damme can make that work. And then, I mean, that's one of those things that is so stupid, but you need a really good action star to really make it work. And that's a line that works for Jean-Claude Van Damme. That's a line that works so well for that particular role. And yeah, the time logic makes no sense in here. It's a very flawed movie. It's not really all that inventive or creative, but you just have a good time watching it, man. It's a movie that I go back to every once in a while. I'm just like, this is so stupid. This is so ridiculous, but I'll be goddamn if I'm not laughing my ass off at many points in this movie. And I think the producers themselves are very much aware of how stupid this gets. I mean, it's not a great movie, but it's one I go back to all the time. Like I said, this is one of my favorite Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. I mean, this is one of the ones I go back to all the time. It's a fun movie. Incredibly ridiculous, incredibly stupid, but I'll be goddamn if it doesn't make me feel very entertained. I was about to say something different. If it doesn't make me feel entertained while watching it, it's just like, you did your job well, even though you really didn't do your job well. I had a good time watching it, and I think if you go in with the right mindset, you can definitely find a lot to enjoy in this movie, too. I mean, Time Cop, man, just phenomenal movie. Maybe not for the reasons they wanted to, but I enjoyed it a lot. So let's move on to the next movie, and that is Princess Caraboo. This is actually based on a true story. I found this surprisingly to be. Kind of reminded me a little bit of the story of Anastasia, the whole story about how nobody ever really figured out who she really was and how she eventually came into royalty. But obviously this is a much different story than that. But I've never seen this movie, honestly. I mean, it's got a pretty good cast here. You've got Phoebe Cates, Jim Broadbent, Kevin Kline, John Lithgow, and Stephen Ray in here. I mean, it looks like it could be a pretty decent film. I've seen that it's got decent reviews, but nothing too spectacular. But I don't know. I mean, it definitely could be something interesting. It's not something I'm going to rush out to see right away, but it's definitely something that's on my radar. If I ever find it at a good price somewhere and I feel it's enough for me to watch it, I'll definitely check it out at some point. It could actually be kind of decent, but Yeah, like I said, I'm not really rushing out to see it right now, but it's definitely got some promise to it. So that is Princess Caribou. Let's move on to the next movie, and that is Jessica Lange and Tommy Lee Jones starring in Blue Sky. So yeah, something you'll notice from this particular trailer is that I think it's supposed to be something like a mock-up trailer by the company, the trailer company that puts these trailers together. Because if you listen very closely, you can definitely hear the voice of Jim Cummings. Those of you who don't know who he is, prolific voice actor, does the voice of Winnie the Pooh and a ton of other cartoon characters. But he also does trailer voices. You can hear his voice whenever it's just a screen with the titles on it. But then it's a completely different voiceover artist doing the narration during the footage, and you see the little timestamps at the top of the screen. It's very weird. It's a very weird trailer that somebody put out there online that was basically kind of a mock-up trailer before they actually made the real trailer. I couldn't find the actual real trailer. That was actually the first trailer that I saw on there. But I didn't. I mean, I don't know. It might be on there, but this is another one of those movies that from Orion Pictures when they were going into bankruptcy. This actually was filmed all the way back in 1990 and wasn't completed until 1991, so much so that the director of this, Tony Richardson, actually died in 1991, and it took him 3 years to get this movie put out, largely because of the bankruptcy issues at Orion Pictures. And it's one of those rare movies from the bankruptcy era of Orion where it actually was a pretty good movie, and it honestly came out at the right time for at least Jessica Lange and for both of the actors. I mean, Jessica Lange and Tommy Lee Jones, because Tommy Lee Jones had just come off of winning an Oscar for The Fugitive, and then Jessica Lange won an Oscar for this particular film. As far as the movie itself goes, I've seen it once a while ago. I mean, I thought it was all right. I thought the performances were pretty good in here. I like Lange and Tommy Lee Jones in here. Powers Booth is also in the movie, as you can see. Chris O'Donnell is also in the film as well. From what I remember from it, I liked it. But like I said, it's been a couple of years since I've actually seen it, so I don't know. I don't think my mindset on it would have really changed. But I could definitely see why Lange won an Oscar for it. I thought it was a good performance for her. And she works very well with Tommy Lee Jones and Powers Booth in here. And it is a decent film. It's a pretty good film overall. Not much more I could say about it, but that's pretty much all I remember from it. So yeah, that's Blue Sky for you. So let's move on to another movie that I think is a much superior film that came out this weekend, one of the best films of the year, and that is Robert Redford's Quiz Show. So you could probably tell from this is basically a dramatization of the infamous 21 quiz show scandal in the 1950s, where a contestant went on a game show, and they found out that during the process that most of these game shows going on at the time were fixed, and the 21 scandal was one of the biggest ones out there, and it's a very interesting trailer concept when you really look at it, because the year before, Disney actually did the same thing with The Lion King. They put a full scene out there before they ever put out any trailers. They put the opening scene out there, and turns out it worked out so well for The Lion King. I guess they thought they'd do the same thing with this particular film, and certainly not on the levels of The Lion King, but it definitely found some success there. It's actually a very, very good movie. From Robert Redford directed this movie. Paul Atancio wrote this film, and you might know him from such movies as Donnie Brasco. He also wrote The Sum of All Fear, Spear, The Good German. He was one of the creators of Homicide: Life on the Street. Worked on House, Bull, just a bunch of TV shows and movies, and it's a very good film. I mean, this is a really solid film that does a very good job is tackling this scandal that took place in the 50s. And you got great performances all around. John Turturro, Rob Morrow, Ray Fiennes as part of the cast, David Paymer. It's got a big cast overall. Paul Scofield, Hank Azaria, Christopher McDonald, Mira Sorvino's in here. Martin Scorsese has a role in here. Griffin Dunn. I'm looking at the list here. Barry Levinson also has a cameo in here, as does William Fichtner, Ethan Hawke, Callista Flockhart, Elena Douglas. Just a big cast overall, and it's a very good story to tell. It's a very intriguing story about the scandal that basically changed the way people looked at game shows back then, because before this, everybody thought game shows like this were not fixed, but now this happens, and all of a sudden everybody looks at game shows differently, even though game shows never really lost their popularity for the most part. I mean, for obvious reasons, because I mean, I love game shows. They're a lot of fun to watch, and I've actually seen some of these older episodes of 21 and Tic Tac Toe, these game shows from the 50s. I have DVDs of them. And it's definitely very interesting to go back to after you watch a movie like this. It's a very good film. You know, for a film that's almost... I thought it was more than that. I thought it was over 3 hours, but it's only about... For a 2.5-hour movie, it does a very good job of bringing the story down, editing it down comfortably so you can get a gist of what's going on here and how you can get invested in this entire thing that's going on. And like I said, the performances overall are great. It's a fantastic film. Maybe it's one of my favorite movie from Robert Redford as a director, and he's made some great movies. But yeah, I think the more I think about it, this actually is maybe my favorite Robert Redford movie he's ever directed. It's a very good film. If you haven't seen Quiz Show, I highly recommend checking it out. You will not be disappointed by it. So that is Quiz Show. Let's move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is The New Age. This is written and directed by Michael Tolkien, who previously made The Player, which was one of the best movies from 1992. And you have a movie here that is trying to be like a yuppie 1990s adult movie, like how we were getting so many different movies based on the Generation X and like Reality Bites. Those type of movies. I'm guessing this was trying to be one of those type of movies, but with a much older cast. I mean, Peter Weller, Judy Davis, Adam West you see in there, Paula Marshall. Patricia Heaton is also in here. Samuel L. Jackson, Corbin Burnson also has a role in here. I haven't seen this movie to really examine it so much. This is the first time I ever saw this. Honestly, was when I looked up this trailer. I mean, there's really not a whole lot there for me to digest into. Apparently, it's got some good reviews. It made a couple of the best of the year list in '94 from a certain group of people. But it's interesting because it's on some best of the year list, but if you go to Rotten Tomatoes, it's like a 64% on there, which is a very mixed review. So, I don't know. This might be another one I might have to check out one day. But, like I said, if I find it somewhere at a good price, I'll definitely check it out. But as of right now, I could just go off of this trailer. I mean, it could be good. I mean, you got a pretty good cast overall that can make it work. So, and a good writer too, who wrote The Player. Like I said, one of the best movies from a couple years ago. So, could go either way. So let's move on to the last movie that we have here, and that is Nostradamus. Or if you've ever seen the videos by Nogla, he one time said it as Nostradamus. Did I forget to mention this is directed by the same man that did Battlefield Earth? Because, man, it definitely showed in that last bit. I mean, actually, the whole movie kind of feels that way. But you got Nostradamus played by Cheki Cheru. You've seen in a bunch of movies before. If the name is hard to pronounce, but you've definitely seen it before. He's been in a bunch of films by Luc Besson. He's been in La Femme Nikita. He's been in GoldenEye. He was in Bad Boys. He's been in The Patriot, The Kiss of the Dragon, From the Earth to the Moon. Just a number of things you've seen him in. He plays Nostradamus, but you also have F. Murray Abraham in here, Rutger Hauer, Amanda Palmer, Julia Ormond, Anthony Higgins is in here. Michael Gow from Batman is in here as well. Yeah, he was in Batman, right? Yeah, he was Alfred. I could have sworn that was him. I'm thinking of somebody else, but yeah, one of the things you take away from it is that it's directed by Roger Christian, the man who did Battlefield Earth. And while this is certainly a lot better than Battlefield Earth, at least from the trailer, and just the way it looks, I mean, I have to think it's better than Battlefield Earth, because Battlefield Earth is just a mess on so many levels. But we will eventually get to that one. But I haven't really seen this one, so I can't really comment on it too much. But at least in this movie's case, it looks like it could be something interesting. It's an interesting story about a man who made these major predictions about different people. Like, he prophesized the death of Henry II, prophesized when the end of the world was going to happen, which ended up not really happening. But it's a very interesting story to tell, and this could actually be something kind of decent. I mean, I don't want to say anything harshly because I haven't seen it yet, but I mean, that director though, it's just hard to not see that and think that this guy doesn't really have a whole lot there as a filmmaker. I mean, I'm trying to see what he did before, like Black Angel, The Sender, Starship, movies I hadn't really seen, but I've actually heard some of them are not that bad, so I don't know, maybe this actually does have a chance after all. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you on that one. So, there you go, Nostradamus. Nostradamus. And so on that note, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next time we meet, we'll look at 4 movies, including Charlie Sheen and the action thriller Terminal Velocity. We also have arguably one of the great movies of the 1990s, The Shawshank Redemption. We also have Sleep With Me and also The Making of And God Spoke. So, 4 movies to look at next time around, and we'll definitely delve into those on the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I will see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you for watching, I'll see you next time, and until then, as always, take care.